to call a capital improvement committee meeting, February 19th, 2019, to order at 9:11. And we're gonna interview some more department heads and see what their needs are. So we have with us from the police first on deck, Lieutenant Brown and Sergeant DeGeneva from the police department.
Come on up, please. Make some room.
Yeah, that's fine. Come right over here, sure.
Oh, George, come on.
So bear with me, I haven't, this is my first capital meeting, so
All good.
I'm winging it today. Sorry about that.
That's all we ever do is wing it, so don't feel bad.
Okay, good.
We're obviously winging it today. All right, so, let's see. So just go through and sort of just give us a rundown on what each item is, what's involved, why, why it's important to the department, really, and that's really about it.
So the first thing we have for the upcoming fiscal year is to replace the 5 MDT computers that we have on the cruisers. We have them in there now, but as you know, computers are ever evolving. The software in them needs to be upgraded. The ones that we have are fairly durable, but they're not like the absolute toughest ones that you can get. The new proposal includes ones that are specifically designed to be in a cruiser, withstand cold weather, the bumps,
Are they-
rattle around in the car a lot.
Are they tough books?
They are, it's not tough book per se.
They're better than that.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think they call it a Rhino tab.
Oh, yeah,
It
okay.
has, in the proposal we got from Patrol PC, that's, with the installation for all 5 of the units, so.
Okay.
And, we should get probably 4 years out of those again. And then again, it may come up again because of, software improvements and whatnot.
We're in the same boat, we were discussing that yesterday with the fire department, the ambulances. Right now, we're at the point where if you lose a computer, now you're down an ambulance. Can't operate.
Yeah. So, ours, back in the day, we didn't, they weren't that functional now. We can use these for facial recognition systems that the registry has now, people with multiple IDs and whatnot. So you can't, even though the computers at the station have the ability to show you what a person's license look like, to have that capability on the road is also, especially when you're trying to identify someone if there's a warrant and whatnot. So that's why we
There's
like
a
to
time
have those in the
constraint
car.
right there, you need to know right then.
So that's, any questions on those at all? Or?
Any grants?
I don't know of any, no. The only grants that we get for equipment, computers or radios or whatever, we usually get from 911, and that's usually based for items inside the station or in the dispatch area or whatever. But I don't know of any grants that are out there for, MDTs or anything like that.
Can't think of any, but you're right, in 4 years, you're gonna be, the technology changes, they're gonna be adding stuff that you'll be able to do with them down the line. Or they'll change the windows, that it won't be compatible anymore.
The second item we had for next year's budget were for the purchase of a drone. Actually, the purchase of 2 drones. One is more expensive than the other one. I think George knows a little bit more about it than I do. But these have the ability to assist in.
Do we have that?
I don't find mine either.
There it is right here.
The priority,
Alright.
the priority 2 is supposed to be the fingerprints terminal.
Oh, that's the following year, I believe.
Yeah.
All right, so,
This is part of the still
for
part
this
of.
year?
This
Yeah,
is
for
a
this year,
separate,
FY.
a separate item. It's not in the packet, it was a separate
Yeah,
attachment.
I have.
Sorry.
Sorry,
That's my. I'm gonna look through it.
that's fine.
If not,
If you wanna talk about that, and just let us know.
does it look like something
Like
different
this.
than? It looks like this.
Yeah, exactly.
So the second item is the drone?
Yeah, you want to
Yes.
talk a little bit what we
Yeah,
can do with
I
it?
had, actually, I had put the proposal together. Basically, this is kind of cutting edge technology in police work. Not only, will it benefit police, but fire as well. Accident reconstruction, fleeing subjects, how many times do we go to the state park every year? You know,
Searches.
search and rescue.
Right.
We can't always rely on the state police helicopter. So there's, you know, the building department could use it if you wanted to plan an event or there's a construction project going on. Disaster management, it can be used to film, yeah, to take photos and film all kinds of different things. I mean, I'm sure the highway, you know, highway
Yeah.
might even be able to use this. I'm looking for two. One portable that can be carried in the cruisers at all times, so it can go up almost instantaneously. I probably should have brought mine with me. I have one very similar to it, but it's in a small case, can be set in the cruiser, and can be put up at a scene instantaneously. The second one's a little more costly. Most of the cost is peripherals, and it's the camera. The camera's almost $11,000. But the FLIR technology, so the infrared technology, is state-of-the-art. And again, on the fire side, looking for missing persons, it's almost indispensable. So it's,
We used one after the tornado, and you can assess a whole area to find out how
Well,
widespread it
Can't
is.
see
yeah,
like
I mean,
that.
and the technology's out there where you can say if you, I don't know, just for instance, during Oktoberfest, you wanted to live stream it, you can put the drone up and live stream it right here. You know, see what's going on and see live traffic data. You can see kind of what's going on. As far as, you know, using it to spy on people and so forth, it's not like that. It's not like what you think. And if it's going to be used in that capacity, it still has to be used within the law, just like we have rules. So it's not like you're going to be peeking in people's windows. It's not. Technology's not like that. It's, you know, if you look into the movies too much, it's, you know, a little far-fetched. But as far as, like I said, for a public safety aspect, there's also a regional team. I've been working with Oxford, Webster, Leicester, Auburn, I think, is involved. So there's going to be an area like SEMLEC, I don't know if you're familiar with that, the Central Mass Law Enforcement Council. So they have a dog unit, they have a SWAT team, they have accident recon. Well, they're going to have a drone team as well. So if we have a major incident, we can call these other towns in. So it's not one in the sky, it might be 2, 3, 4. And it's just going to help us, you know, cover that much more ground. So it'll be more of like a regional thing. So that's in the works now.
So would they buy it and we could use it, or do we have to buy it?
No, we would
ourselves?
have our own. I've been working diligently with the FAA, as much as fun as that has been, to try to get information. And I know Christine's helped me with getting information from senators and so forth to try, so that we're a town. The feds need to know that we're actually a town. I haven't figured out the paperwork, but if you've ever done any paperwork with the federal government, it's not fun. So we would have a drone here, and then I'm in the process of filling out paperwork asking for a certificate of authorization so we can fly at night, we can fly during weather, we can fly with traffic and people. If we go to another town, they will have one, and we'll be under their blanket and so forth. So when they come in, we can all work as a community. But each department or organization will have their own. And obviously, you know, interagency, you know, we can
That's
we can
huge.
help
It
each other.
falls
It's
under the
huge.
mutual aid SEMLEC.
Yeah,
agreement, so.
we can not only help each other community-wise, but, you know, other departments within the town. It's not going to be just a you know, law enforcement utilized item.
Can
One
you
of the
get-
other benefits it is, we have 7,000 acres of state forest. We've had fires we could not find, but if you get up in the sky, you
I'm more
can
looking
find
at
it.
the child that got lost there.
Do some recon, and then,
Hours to
you know,
find it.
stage your
Poor
resources.
kids.
Once you find the fire, now you can deploy your resources as you need them. So it's really the sky,
The sky's the
It's
limit.
unlimited.
It's like
Sky's the limit,
it's like
really.
it's such a
Really?
cliche
You have to
term,
say
but it does really, you know, I mean, even accident recon, looking at something from above versus, you know, down on the ground and flats, it's a completely different view. So it really does help out.
Would help mitigate, I'm sorry, some of the dangerous situations that the police, law enforcement, fire
Yeah,
department
absolutely.
can get themselves
Pretty
into.
much.
I know even it's gone out with the SWAT team as kind of overwatch for, I think Oxford went out a few weeks ago with one of our guys during a drug bust. And they were actually found somebody between two houses while, you know, before they went in. I know some of the dog guys have like it for the fact that somebody's watching over them, maybe can see a
Right.
suspect in the woods or so forth like that. And obviously a missing child, I mean, it's, or a missing child or a suspect, anybody that can be found, it's obviously a benefit.
Okay. I'm Shirley Nazinski, I'm sorry, I don't know you.
George DeGenova. We've met a few times.
Okay, yes, now I know. So are you the one that's going to be operating it, or is it a blanket?
Well, right now, I've put the proposal together.
Yeah.
I've actually gone as far as, I actually have my pilot's license
Okay,
for this. I went on, did a lot of research on it when the chief brought it to me.
Mhm.
So what I expect to do is to have certain people trained in it,
Mhm.
because there's a lot of regulations that you really need to know. I thought, oh, it's just, we're flying this toy, and then I started to really realize the seriousness of it, and
Mhm.
it's something that can fall out of the sky and hurt somebody,
Sure.
so, or damage property. So, in my proposal, I want somebody, if they don't get their license, but at least be well-versed on the laws and regulations, and we're going to have, trainings and so forth to learn how to operate this. So, I will not be the only operator. In here, I'll probably be the chief pilot, but there will be other pilots involved.
Yeah, you can't be there 24/7.
You can't, yeah, I can't be there 24/7, so there has to be somebody there that can do this, other than myself, but there will be training involved.
What's the flight time on one of these?
Depending upon what you're using for peripherals, 25 to 30 minutes, which it's actually, when you look at battery technology today, and the bigger drone weighs probably 10 to 12 pounds, the weight's in there.
But
So
you would
it's-
have multiple batteries, right?
Yeah,
So
we'd
if
have
you had
multiple
one-
batteries, so you can come in. And another, nice thing is you can send this out on a predetermined flight path, have photos taken, bring it back in, change the battery, take the card out, say, here you go, chief, put this in your computer, start searching, see if you see something that doesn't look right, and then send the thing back out again. So it's not just this one pass thing. There's a lot of,
Especially if you're doing a grid search.
Yeah, you're
Just
doing a
take
grid
one
search.
quadrant,
Yeah.
the
yeah,
next
you can
quadrant.
send out and somebody can be visually looking at it and then have an operator. And that's the difference between the small one that goes up quick and the one that's the larger one. It's going to take more of a team, 2 to 3 people to actually do this.
But a
But you're
lot
going to
of
be able to
times-
see so much more about.
A lot of times for disasters, yeah, damage assessment, they want pictures, and the quicker you get them, the quicker you'll get funds to be able to do that, so. It's really another tool in the toolbox that is a benefit, for sure.
Yes, ma'am. I know you've been patiently waiting.
Yeah. Can you summarize the amount of cost in this proposal? I know you put individuals,
Yeah, I
but
did.
they
I
all say
think-
retail
I
there.
think, yeah, I
and-
think the chief, I think I gave the chief actual quotes, and I thought, is the paperwork in there?
Yeah,
I mean, it says, yeah. oh,
Yeah, I
Yeah,
got
there's-
that one.
but that's the small one.
Yeah, that's the small one, yeah. Roughly, it comes up about roughly 23,000 for both.
So what's small and what's big?
Well, this, again, as far as the small one is it's about 3,300, and the big one is where the money is, and it's about 20, yeah, it's like 20 grand.
So the small one doesn't have thermal imaging?
It does
right?
have.
Oh, does it?
It does have FLIR technology,
Okay.
but think about this. You have a $3,000 unit that
I
not only
totally-
flies and takes pictures,
I totally
and
get
then
it.
the camera alone.
You can buy
I
a
think is-
$10,000 camera, or you can buy one for $1,500.
Yeah, the camera alone is $10,300. But we're talking state-of-the-art
Okay.
imagery and so
You
forth.
had talked about a organization in Central Mass or
Yes.
in Oxford, was it?
Yes, Semlec?
Yeah, now, can they do big purchases and get discounts on something like that? And then all these different groups, police groups in the area, get them at a discount as opposed to retail
Well, no,
prices?
I know, I just put retail because that's what the information that I got offline. And the.
So you'd have to
quote-
find out what the state
Yeah, the
bid
quotes
list
here,
was.
the quotes here
Yeah.
are discounted from actual retail. The quotes that
Oh,
I
the one
have-
that you have?
Yes, the quotes I
As
have here.
opposed
I've
to
gotten
here.
I've gotten 3 quotes. from different places.
And that's the state bid list, is that what you're talking about?
There is a state bid list, I'm sure, you know. And then there's, sometimes you can get things cheaper than the state bid list if you do an RFP, which we've done a lot of it. Since Matt's come on board, we've done that and saved a lot of money that way. So you would just spell out to them, to different vendors, what you want and make them compete against each other.
I haven't really done the whole cost analysis thing. I was just kind of trying to put some information together.
Okay.
Do you think that with the advanced technology and the camera systems, can it be utilized in conjunction with the facial recognition software?
I'm sure that the technology is out there, but I don't really know how the cost or how that works.
Sure.
I look at this purchase as for the whole town, not just the police. So
course.
there's
Yeah.
huge benefits for
Yeah,
the whole
it's a
town with this.
multi-department type.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I could honestly see it being used more for, you know, with missing people at the state park and other stuff. I mean, that's something we deal with every year. And if state police can't come out, then,
We're on our own.
yeah, we're searching 7,000 on however many acres.
Mhm.
And especially with the FLIR technology, it's just that much.
I mean,
more
without that,
efficient.
you're on four-wheelers just.
Yeah.
And again, too, that's one of those things. You have the drone in the sky, you can pinpoint the coordinates, and hey, chief, this is what we got, and you put it in your phone,
That's it.
Google Maps, and there you go. That's where you're
That's it.
going. If you do find somebody, then you can guide ground crews. So it's just going to be used in conjunction for all kinds of things. For instance, even the fire. You have a fire.
Yep.
If we have that portable drone, I'm serious, 2 minutes, you can put it up in the air, and I can tell you where the hot spots are and what to look out for, and these things that.
Oh, the applications, I'm sure Swiftwater Rescue, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's almost, I say almost endless, but.
And the sooner you're able to find what you're looking for, the
Obviously, yeah,
less manpower it's
Right.
going
Exactly,
to be to,
exactly.
I can
Less
see that.
cost all the way around.
Yeah.
Those,
And I figured the price of a helicopter was probably a little out of
Oh.
budget for the town, so.
Slightly over. Should have started there.
We're not ruling it out.
Are all the towns getting these things? Is this the purchase of the year for all police departments?
I don't know if it is, for the purchase for the year, but I know the progressive departments are. And like I said, I know Webster has one, Oxford has one, Uxbridge is working on it, so I've been dealing with Uxbridge too, so they're in the same process too. I know a couple of their offices just got their license, pilot's license as well. So at least the area communities, we're going to have a community of available ones. And again, it's a little bit more than it's in infancy stage. Oxford is up and running. They're the only ones that are physically up and running at this particular moment. And the officer there that got their program running is helping all the other agencies, in the step-by-step process of getting, our drone units up. So right now, it's a purchase thing.
Okay, good. Any other questions for Sergeant DeGeneva?
So, moving on to 2021, we're looking to replace the live scan fingerprint machine that we have. The one that we have now was installed about 6 years ago, and again, like any type of computer purchase that you make, there's software upgrades and maintenance and whatnot for it. I know this one's becoming increasingly difficult to use, according to some of the guys. It takes, you're
Takes some time.
fingerprinting somebody over and over again to get the fingerprint to take, and especially if someone's not in the mood to get fingerprinted, it's not just for maybe an LTC. It's,
They try starting.
but again, like I
an
said,
ID on something
like all of the
that.
computer stuff, I mean, there's newer and better that comes along.
Sure.
And, we're looking to replace that. Cost on that's about $30,000.
So is that just for the system upgrades and,
It's for a new machine itself, so, I'm not in any way, specialists on computers or whatnot, but, you can only upgrade an old machine so much. So this newer one is gonna have the technology built into it, and it will still have room to expand beyond that, where I don't know as the older machine even has the capacity to be able to do what the new machines can do, even with upgrades. So, again, computers evolve, so this is, with a 6-year-old machine, is one of the earlier ones out there, so that's why we're looking to replace that with a newer and better machine that's,
The Chiefs had this on here for some time, right? This one? I remember, have I heard this before?
I think we've been around long enough that we probably go back to where they bought this last
other
one.
one, maybe.
No, it wasn't bought, it was a grant. So are there grants available?
I'm not
Well,
aware of
we
any.
received-
Oh, is
No, this is on the, it doesn't even seem like it was 2013.
That's why I'm questioning, I'm just like,
Um,
probably was.
we received additional money from the state, and we were able to address certain capital needs, and I think this was bought after one of those.
was that?
It does
the
say it
public
was
safety
purchased-
grant?
It does say it was purchased through a grant and it was at no cost.
Right, but it wasn't a reoccurring grant like 911.
Right. Was it public safety money from
It was,
From the
the
wall.
165,000 from Wallem Lake?
Yeah,
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
That makes
there
sense.
we go.
it doesn't seem like it was 2013.
I
It
know.
just seems like it was yesterday.
That's what,
But-
that'd been my first year on this committee, I think.
I know.
That's why I'm not-
But-
So is there any dough in that account?
No, we expended the grant. It was
Yeah, I
used for
know, but
multiple
don't-
capital items.
Okay, but every year, don't we get money from the Wallem Lake?
Oh, we're
Surcharge or
actually,
what?
well, we're trying to find information about that. We're supposed to get $1 per car, but we have not heard anything about how to expend it or when we're going to be receiving it.
Right. Don't worry, we'll keep beating them up.
Good.
Yeah. No, I actually have a call in
Yeah.
for that reason. I haven't heard
And-
back from them yet.
As I do as well.
Yeah. No trade-in value, though, that would be my question. Any trade-in value
Yeah,
on
I
these
don't
things?
know. Again, because, I mean, I don't know how far you could get this upgraded to make it worthwhile. I mean,
I would venture to say you
I would
probably
think that
get
you
something.
could be able to, but again, I don't know that.
So I look at the defibrillators, we got $500 a piece for them. If we could get even a couple $100 or whatever.
Yeah, I would say it would be nominal.
There's gotta be something.
Send it out to Mayberry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I want to date myself.
Bonding control. Okay, any other questions about the fingerprint machine? Scanner? No? Okay.
So for 2022, we're looking to replace all of our firearms, rifles, and shotguns. At that point in time, again, they'll be 6 years old, and the amount of time that they spend in your holster, out in the rain, out in the snow. The rifles in the car bounce around pretty much for 6 years, and we shoot them 3 or 4 times a year, a minimum. With 3 or 4 times a year, that's between 20 guys. So we have a lot of rounds put through them, and life expectancy on that is probably about time to
Average is something roughly
6 to 8 years. 6 to 8 years, yeah.
national average to replace it.
So that would include our patrol rifles and the less lethal shotguns. Cost on that's about $22,500. We have had in the past where they do give, trade-ins for our current stuff. I just don't know what they'll give us for the value, depending on what the price would be in, 2 or 3 years from now when it would come up to.
I think that's sidearms too.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I
alright.
said, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I
Our
apologize.
pistols and the rifles and the less lethal shotguns. But they do offer a trade on that. I am aware of that. It's, but I don't know exactly what that would be until that comes up, so.
Sounds good.
And the last for 2023 would be to build a new police station. I know this has come up and for a long time now. I mean, when we moved downstairs, that was gonna be a temporary fix, and we were looking to add on or go up towards somewhere up near the fire station. Something I probably won't see in my career, but that is, it's coming back up again. We are overcrowded down there. I think everyone knows that. Sometimes we're underwater.
Yes.
And so it's, it's probably time. I would say so, because it's, we're making the best of it, but it's, eventually, it's something that should be done. Costs on that, he has $8,750,000. That I'm not sure of for grants either. I don't know what would be out there for that, or for, there were reimbursement grants or whatever, so. Again, that's 4 years out, so, give or take, so that's way down the line.
Isn't it common practice in this town to have an architectural drawing before you build a building?
Well, I mean, I think what would happen first is they'd establish a committee to determine what would be the best location. Are we gonna look at existing buildings, or are we gonna look at new construction? And once the committee comes up with a plan for where it's gonna go, then it will go out to bids for architectural design. So,
So it's a two-step process, at least.
At least, yeah. The first step would be to establish a committee and find a location. And once you find a location, and that would be after exhausting all existing buildings. I'm quite sure over the past 20 years or so, we've looked at the existing buildings, and there wasn't anything that's gonna suit our needs. So new construction is probably inevitable. I would say the location would probably be, the fire station's pretty much in the center of town. So a parcel of land somewhere up there, or right near the fire station, if there was room, that would be an ideal spot, because you're, geographically in the center of the town, that's where you wanna be. And then to see, what type of building and what type of construction based on the bids and what the needs are gonna be at that time. And to have, room for expansion as well. There's no room for expansion where we're at right now. So, that would have to come into play when planning the new building. It's okay, so where's, if you're gonna build a new police station, you're looking for that to last, 50, 60 years. So where is the town gonna be in 50 or 60 years population-wise, and the number of police officers, based on the needs of the town? So it would have to be a building that can be expanded or has room for expansion down the line, so.
We did have money appropriated for a feasibility study, and we ended up transferring out
Used
to
it,
it, yeah. So
In
we
the
didn't
budget
use it
one,
for
yeah.
that purpose.
That was 7 or 8 years ago, and we
Yeah.
There was
Time
a
is
the
saving
kibosh
me
on it.
today,
Yeah, 2010, I believe it was, but,
Yep.
Yeah, I think we had 90,000 over there. We just didn't use it for that purpose. We ended up using it for something else that we needed.
Yeah, like
And
holding
too
on to
many,
staff.
if I may, too many times we have put money aside to do a feasibility or to start a project such as the library, and we've expended monies and still have done really not that much with it. So, and by the time years go by, and then you end up with, times have changed, things are different, and so where's that money? It's been used,
I found
but
it was well spent, and we're ready. You give us the money and we'll build the library.
yeah, you have to vote for it.
Yeah, I know, I don't think anybody's gonna vote for this either,
Well,
at
that's
this
just,
point.
well, you know what,
so-
Hey,
that's.
and you
well,
gotta
know
put
what?
it out there.
That's a good point, because in all reality, why spend the money on a feasibility study if the town's not gonna have the money to build the station? I understand that, but that doesn't take
You
away
gotta
from the
keep it on
fact
the
that it's
books.
needed, you know what I mean?
That's exactly
You
right.
have to
Doesn't-
keep trying, so.
Exactly.
But I can see
Doesn't
with
take
that,
away
the
the need.
90,000 will get used somewhere else, because, they do a feasibility study. We know we're not gonna make a move on something within, 4 or 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
so why spend the money on it at that point?
Yeah, and I think that's where I believe all three of you had decided.
We did.
Myself,
was a
Chief
public-
Foley, and
yeah.
John, we said, you know what?
No, we were gonna lose people at that point, so
Right,
we
Yep.
said no.
Yeah, and it was for
That's-
public
So
safety.
you don't,
But I
don't
think-
waste the money on it if things are
Yeah.
gonna change that much in
Right.
5 years, so.
But I think it was the police station and also the town garage, and I said, but you're telling us it's going to be needed, so you need to keep it on the capital plan.
So that's why it's here, it's not, I mean, it doesn't
Exactly.
take away from the fact that it's not needed.
Right.
Exactly.
Right on.
That's,
I mean, we may end up, who knows, there may be a building available or something that can be redone, but you have to know that you're gonna need it that within the next 2 years or so, not to put it out there forever, and then things change, and then you've got money that's gone.
Yeah, because I remember this being 4 million, 6 million.
Well, yeah.
8 million.
Because
So-
everything goes up,
Every year, unfortunately.
yeah. And so doesn't the population. I hear you.
Well, I recommend that the police department or the police form their little building committee first. And to get more focus on what you actually need. I remember also talking about getting sort of standardized plans from other towns that have just built fire department, or police departments, and as opposed to getting the whole feasibility stuff that Shirley's talking about.
The other thing to consider is to look for, I don't know if they're out there, but I know they have been in the past, is public safety grants where you put everything together and you pool all your resources in your departments that way. But whether that's an option or not, I mean, we can certainly research it, but the town has to be in a position to go forward and, you know, I don't think people want to spin their wheels and want to. We all have plenty of work to do, that's for sure. All right. Any other questions for Sergeant DeGeneva or Lieutenant Brown?
I don't.
So just as a recap, your two priorities for this year are
The MDTs, the computers for the cruisers, and we're
Yep.
looking for the purchase of a drone.
Yep.
Drone, 2 drones.
All right.
and the police department is included with the radio, along with this building, the
Fire alarm?
fire
Yeah.
alarm.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, gentlemen.
All right, thank you.
There you guys.
See you.
Nice. Okay. Next on our agenda will be
Library.
the library. Hello. Hi, Justin.
This is also my first capital committee meeting.
Okay.
Hi.
Hello.
I guess.
So this
So-
is what we have,
Mhm.
steer 3 things.
Yep, so, usually the library trustees fund most of what we do to the library out of building donations and library incentive grant money. And the only thing that y'all, I think, usually see is the pie-in-the-sky Simon Fairfield Library renovation project, which we keep submitting every year just so we can say that the original request year was 2013.
But it was way before.
It was
the-
before that, but that was just the number that was on the first form I saw.
Okay.
So that encompasses a complete building renovation of the facilities, takes care of all the deferred maintenance, turns the basement into a children's library, makes the entire building ADA compliant. And, it's just what the library needs, and that need was determined a long time ago. The funding just hasn't been there. The project has already been approved by the BFCC. Really, the only thing it's waiting for is funding. I don't realistically expect that funding because the project cost is $2,371,525. And we have been looking at exploring alternative ways to get similar things to happen for less money, perhaps through the Massachusetts Office on Disabilities grants and things of that nature. But still, the same as, we're talking about with the police and fire stations and things, it's a need, so there's the proposal. But Matt also sent out an email earlier in the year saying he wanted all of our potential projects for the next 5 years. projected out. So I had a week to come up with some ideas. And so they're not the most researched ideas because I wasn't necessarily planning on it, but two other needs which would be helpful to take care of in lieu of that is, let's see, I'll go by order of priority, because priority was one was the big one. Priority two, I called Operation Wall Fixer. I don't know if you've been in the library, but there's cracks running throughout the ceiling, there's plaster falling off the walls, there's lots of pieces of art that are where they are, because if you try to move them, the plaster comes with it. So basically what we would want to sort of look at doing is repair all of that crumbling plaster throughout the library, patch the ceiling cracks, repaint. In the process, check and see if any mitigation needs to be done for asbestos or lead. I don't know how old a lot of that paint is, but it is flaking off in big flakes. Also, since we're just looking at the walls and the ceiling in general, there's also the fire door in the basement. The door is new, the frame is not. The entire frame is trying to separate from the masonry, so if you open the door and wind hits it, then you have to hammer the frame back in with a rubber mallet before you can close the door again, which can't be good. And since we're just kind of chunking things together, if we're looking at that, also looking at maybe making a ramp down into the basement to make it egress and ingress safer in the event that we actually need to use that fire door while there's a program going on down there. Because right now there's a 3-step down. So yeah, basically that's just kind of internal, bring in someone to, try to fix the walls, try to fix the ceilings, try to fix that door, and make getting in and out easier. That, any questions on that before?
Only question I have is honestly, Justin, I think your $10,000 number's low.
Low.
I was thinking the same
I-
thing,
I-
especially if there's
Just knowing what I know, just,
Mm-hmm.
you're more around the 25,000
Okay.
range to do this stuff. I really feel
Got
that.
that now.
No, you just off the top of my head, but it really is. The wall alone, like I said, I know what Justin's talking about, you pour that plaster. Once you open it up, you're taking it all down, it isn't just fixing
Yeah,
the
and you
crack.
wanna be careful if you don't wanna
That's
open
a
up a
different
can of worms
story.
too.
You're talking, you're gonna spend at least $2,000 to $3,000 just on lead and asbestos abatement,
Okay.
right off the bat, just to have someone come in and look, just to come in and test it, never mind abate it. So, if you do find something.
Yeah, I changed the estimate in one field to $15,000 to $20,000, but then forgot to update the total project cost field. And what were you saying?
25,000, I would put 25,000 and be comfortable that you're in that area.
Okay.
And because it makes a good press, have you contacted BBT regarding the ramp?
No, I have them working on something else actually. They're building me new DVD shelves.
You may want to, because that's in the photo op, so
Yeah.
sometimes they take advantage of those.
Yeah.
I mean, senior center had them also paint and plaster down there on horsehair plaster and stuff, they did a good job, but
Awesome.
just something to think about too.
Yeah, I think they have painted the library before.
I'm sure they have.
I think the staff painted it too.
Yeah, the staff
they did.
painted
Yeah.
everything.
When I
It's
first
sort of
started,
on
they did,
children's
yes,
side.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The basement needs love. My office especially is the one place that, since the public doesn't access it, we've kind of let that go. And that's where you have plaster just
Falling
coming
off,
off
yeah.
in chunks. That's why the scary boy is still up on the wall back there. That picture, because you can't take it off
Yeah,
without
exactly.
taking the wall.
I had that in my office as well. I
Yeah, I don't like him. I covered him
No,
up
no, I
with
don't have
the-
I have a calendar, but I tried to take it off, and it's the
Won't
same
take it off,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, it's there, 2005.
I covered it up with the parking lot plans because they're more
Yeah.
pleasant to look at because I find that boy creepy. But the other project that I wanted to request for consideration is security for the library. We have a lot of, the things that disappear the most are DVDs. People like to walk away with DVDs and Blu-rays. That, we kind of just considered a cost of being an open public library. But what I'm more concerned about are the historical things in the basement, because now we have the Coppola collection from the Historical Society over there. We have a lot of other one-of-a-kind documents in the basement. We do have some groups that use the library after hours, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts.
Historical.
The Historical Society now, because it gets cold over there. And not having any security in that area, it kind of makes me uncomfortable. And it would be nice to have security throughout the building, just so that we can see what's going on. One of the things that is big one of the reasons we will never qualify for Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners construction grant is because part of their what they want is like the open visibility throughout the building, and like our library is a model case for how not to have good visibility. Like if you're at the circ desk, you have no idea what's going on in the loft, in the basement, in the stacks, or I mean you can see the front door, and that's pretty much it. So being able to have security cameras throughout the rest of the building, seeing what's going on, we could probably reduce materials lost due to theft, and we could reduce vandalism by having some outside. We do have kids who like to hang out in the back of the library, and they like to fiddle with things. They fiddled with one of my staff's motorcycles until it stopped working. Luckily, she was able to fix it because she's handy like that. We've also had issues with vandalism of the book drop out front. People throwing trash in it, or food, or snow. It's always a problem in the winter is people throw snowballs into the book drop. And it not only ruins our materials, it ruins the materials that are being brought back to be sent back to other libraries, and then we have to sort of explain that. So that's basically, my thought here is securing, the library, securing taxpayer assets, and in the process, update the heat and fire sensors, install motion sensors, panic button at the circulation desk maybe, have the police tell us, what they think we need, and just get the library secured.
Sometimes maybe just cameras with tapes that you can review. We've got some of that at the fire station. It's handy here and there.
Absolutely.
But
And nowadays, you never know. I mean, our library, we're very fortunate. They have overdoses everywhere in libraries now. It's been getting worse and worse, and so this stuff like this would help. At least being able to monitor it because you have so many spots you can hide.
We've been lucky in that regard. We have a good patron population in Douglas. It's not like Northbridge.
So do you, if I may?
Yep.
So do you have a plan or amounts of what it would cost? Is that 10,000 something you think would cover what you're looking for?
I think that it would cover a camera system. Because I looked to see what the sort of the wireless and wired systems are for just having live feeds that record to a hard drive on a computer, and I think that it could happen within 10,000 or relatively near that amount.
I think that's pretty accurate.
And if it was a situation where we had to choose to limit, we could choose where the dead areas would be. I just never want to ask for more than we need.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I think and I'm not opposed to it, I'm just looking for maybe a little bit more accurate of amounts or in a total amount.
Those are things that you can also do on an RFP. There are companies out there that specialize in, and if they can drive the price down, well, it's great for us, right?
They can't drive it below 10,000 though, right? Because then
Well, it
it's not-
depends on what you start out with, these are my must-haves and these are my prefers, and then they go from there. And they submit, you find the best one with the most appropriate cost.
Yeah, it's voted as a project. I mean, I've heard the finance director doesn't allow money to be spent for any other purpose regarding. I heard. So if there's any residual, if you
I have
put
to
10,000
that donut money
in,
back.
then you could, it would say then be transferred to another project. Yeah. But to meet the qualifications of this committee, it is 10. But I would leave that as a base.
Eagle Stars, who does a lot of work here, would be someone to reach out to. I can give you his name and number. We can have him come out and see what he thinks. It's really good.
What do you think the cost is on the theft and vandalism? Have you put a cost on that?
It's hard to tell, but, you know, if we assume that we lose, we probably lose in the neighborhood of 150 to 200 items a year. And then just depending on the cost of replacing those.
Sure.
But some you don't really want to replace.
Some of them we wouldn't replace anyway.
But still, it's been.
But it's a
taken.
taxpayer asset that has been paid for, which,
Yeah.
And then there's stuff, if you're saying they are dumping stuff into the return box, it's stuff that's been damaged, and
I mean, if it just an off the top of my head guess, because we don't know what all is missing is the problem.
Sure.
Because to do that, we would have to send someone through with the scanner and take inventory of the collection. So we don't know something's missing until someone else wants it and it's gone. But, you know, assuming, you know, a materials loss of about 200 a year, then that would be about $4,000 a year that we lose to that kind of material loss. I mean, there's also the, you know, people checking out things and not returning them, but we don't know we know who those people are and where to find them and
Sure.
exactly how much that figure is. That figure would be a lot higher, but that's not something this project would mitigate.
Does it hurt your relationship with the other libraries if their books come back damaged?
Not really. I mean, we tend to have a good understanding with them, and you know, it's kind of recognized as a cost of doing business among libraries. You know, we share things going to delivery, and that's the other thing. You know, a lot of times you can't tell whether something has been damaged, you know, by a patron or whether it was damaged in the bin between our library and Westfield whenever it got shipped to be sorted in the, you know, Optima warehouse and then shipped back there. We've had some issues with shipping, and we've had to file a lot of claims with Optima through the Massachusetts library system because, you know, they sort through a lot of books, you know, but a lot of times it's, you know, it's just, it's sorting, it's boxing, and things can get broken. And you kind of, you have to rely that every library has a well-trained circulation staff that whenever someone comes back with an item, they're going to look at it and make sure that it's, you know, in good condition before they check it in and send it home in the bin. And no one, you know, realistically expects that that's happening all over the network. Because, you know, everyone's busy, you get in the book, you check it in, you throw it where it goes. You don't have time to inspect every item as it comes in.
Okay. Any other questions for Justin? You have anything else to add, Justin?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. Thank you very much.
just one thing.
Okay.
You are going to be doing the 5-year plan, though, because you've only got, 2018 items here.
Let's see, I guess all of these are just kind of up for, you know, if y'all can cover them within the 5-year period, that would be great. I think, you know, I guess like year 2018 through 2020 could apply to all of these.
It's, last year was 2018.
Last year was 2018. I really should have edited these more carefully.
So you feel that they're all important now, but you don't see any other any other projects coming within the 5 years?
I really don't. I mean, if we fixed the walls, fixed that issue, fixed the security issue, everything else I think that we can make workable without having to come to the Capital Committee for requests.
So this is his 5-year, he just
This is my
wants them
5
all
years.
now?
I seem to only have the.
Yeah, I'm missing one
Yeah,
too.
okay.
And Matt, you had talked about spending capital money for, you know, doing grant matching and stuff with some places. And one is that access for handicapped people grant that I think Justin's applied for a couple of times, haven't you? And you need like $45,000 to match it, or you look like I'm crazy.
No. Our competitive position in the grant competition would be improved if we had a match. It's only meaningful if town meeting approves the money and it's there, available for the match, and Gene doesn't have to do anything other than certify that it was voted.
Yeah.
And then the application would go in with the match noted, and that the money had been appropriated by town meeting. I think that would help. I think I would feel more comfortable if some of the design work around your ADA project had been updated. I think the approach to an elevator or a lift outside is probably less expensive than what was contemplated earlier with the shaft inside the building. The building's too small for that. So I think I'd like to see the project go back to the drawing board, and the trustees might want to talk to folks in the know about how to reconfigure that project, reapply, and then go to town meeting with the funding request.
So we would do a piecemeal type approach as opposed to the whole $2 million+ approach.
If you can break it apart into discrete pieces, I think the chances of seeing it happen would go up, especially since those individual pieces on their own have a lot of merit.
Mhm.
And the ADA access has a tremendous amount of merit,
Yeah.
given your current situation with the bathrooms in the building.
Isn't, my understanding is that, and I don't know if it's a state law or just a Worcester city law or Worcester County law, but when you, and I assume that building's over 100 years old, that if you do any renovation to the inside of a building, you have to retrofit it for ADA compliance?
You have to exceed a certain cost
Threshold.
threshold in relation to the value of the building, and we would never come close to that threshold. I think it's something like, 30% of the,
It may even be higher than that.
I don't remember exactly what the formula is, I just know it's not something we would even have to worry about. Because we don't have that kind of money.
Well, I think the assessed value that they have with the assessors is not that great either. So you have to watch out
Sure.
for that. It may be, that you may, in your heart, it may be worth $5 million, that building, but the assessed value is much less.
I think it's like 300,000.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike, could you just identify yourself for
Yeah,
everybody?
Mike Fitzpatrick, Southwest Main Street, Douglas. No, I looked at a similar project, it was for a church, and the pastor happened to be in a wheelchair, so they needed to make it handicap accessible, because they couldn't use their sanctuaries on the second floor, not on the first floor. So I put together a project for them, to give them a lift that's ground access from outside. You can access it from inside if you want to. Brings you to the first floor, brings you to the second floor. And the shaft is only like 6 feet by 6 feet. That's on the outside. And that project was about $100,000. I have the whole project totals and the information that I would easily share with anybody if they wanted it. But that would be a simple solution for you to put this in. The lift itself installed is about $37,000. And that was for a 2-story church, which is taller than what you have over there.
We did the same thing at the Stadium Theater, when we rehabbed the second floor. For the marquee room, we had a shaft built outside with a lift. It's not the
Even
most glorious way to do it.
$100,000 though, that project would come close to triggering the Architectural Access Board, I think. So if we were to do that, we would also, I think, have to address the bathrooms, or I would have to research, how close that cost brings us to the threshold.
Yeah, but the point is there are other options out there that you may be able to still accomplish what you're trying to do and bring that $2.3 million down to a more.
I agree. The $2.3 million project was, the history between that's with the trustees and the Building and Facilities Construction Committee going back a ways. And it does a lot of things that are not necessarily necessary, but a lot of things that would sort of, preserve the aesthetic of the building throughout an addition that would have a lift. And personally, I favor a lot more of kind of, a cinder block wall with an elevator in it approach. I want what's going to work for us without, preserving the color of the brick and the wainscoting or whatever else, fancy architectural things. It's still an active project with the BFCC. And I don't know how wedded people are to those plans. I know that there's a lot of history there, and then the more piecemeal things we do, the more we deviate from that, which would require going back and having redrawings of the architectural plans, which is spending more money to get back to it. It's a tough nut to crack.
Is the piecemeal portion of it a detriment to getting the grant funds? In
No,
other words,
it's the only way you're gonna
as
get it
long as
done.
you're, yeah.
I mean, 7-digit numbers are just way too scary for this town.
Yeah.
I think
So the grants I'm going
a
after
6-digit number
250,000.
is in the ballpark of a capital budget that we could credibly present to the voters of the town. So, especially if it leveraged a grant that was much larger and it was state money that was gonna do the rest of the work. That's good money going after better money.
Right.
That makes sense to me. I just don't know that we have very few things that we could do in one fell swoop that would still be a digestible number.
Yep, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Assuming that we meet that threshold for the grant money, what is typically that grant for? Is it a percentage of
Well,
that capital
typically, they
expense?
don't ask for a match. I think that they don't require a match.
Yeah, these grants are relatively new. They've only been
Yeah.
around for the last 3 years. The Massachusetts Office on Disabilities rewards up to $250,000 to municipalities to remove barriers to access, I think is the language that they use. And so we're hoping to make this next year's round a bit more competitive since we've done the heating and the weatherization updates to the library. That represents some community investment. Given the current political environment, I wouldn't anticipate being able to go into the grant round with, a match of funding from town meeting. But before the grant round happens, which is typically October, November, we would need to have some sort of plan in place. And that's a point of strategy that needs to be discussed as to, what piecemeal portion we want to attack. What we've done heretofore is we had the current project architect we paid the architect $10,000, I think, just to say, what can we realistically accomplish towards ADA compliance within the constraints of this budget? If we had $250,000, what would it get us? And he gave us drawings of a lift inside the building, which cut a hole in the second floor, and put in 2 handicapped accessible bathrooms, and that was pretty much it. Which, we submitted the proposal anyway because, it was worth doing that. But is that a solution that I would like in the long term? No, because we would lose a lot of space, which is at a premium in the library already. So that's where we are with that. Would you agree?
Yeah, yeah, I guess so. But I think if you start working on whatever you have to accomplish or get us trustees to accomplish by, end of summer or something like that, then now,
Mhm.
don't wait till a week beforehand or anything like that, and figure out the whole grant funding bit. And is there other people, or is there anybody on that, the grantee place, that you can chat with informally about what do I have to do to, get a positive, response to this application?
Brandy.
Brandy?
Definitely branding.
Not chocolate.
Yeah.
A book?
No, branding in the sense that, you want to go in with something that looks
Oh,
appealing.
branding, not brandy.
No.
Although
branding
works.
How
is that? Branding works.
I've got room in my coffee.
I think Gina and I have to excuse ourselves. We have our OPEB management group is here. We've already postponed them once.
Yes.
We got to talk to them.
If I may, So do you feel the proposal that you're looking at versus what was put out there for handicap, and taking away space, but do you feel that your proposal would last as long as what that proposal would?
What, the one here, the 2.5 million?
No. You were saying as far as handicap accessibility, and you're saying, well, a different kind of a lift, or what Mike has mentioned, would you feel that that would last as long as a regular bricks and mortar type?
I think so. I mean, if it was well constructed and built to last, I mean, in terms of usage, an idea like Mike's versus an idea like what we currently have through Charlie Van Hoores for the internal lift, that's a step backwards. That's not a step forwards in terms of like the longevity of the usefulness of the project, because the library needs to expand, not contract. And, you know, cutting a giant hole in it is contracting it. You know, we lose space for materials, which we're already really shy on. We lose space for any amount of programming, people being able to do things in the library. So, I mean, if I were to put a useful life on, you know, the proposal we have right now, I would probably put a negative value on it. You know, it
What,
takes us
Charlie's
back.
or-
Mhm.
But Mike's is better?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
If I can add to that, because you're taking away space, and that was the same problem that they had within the church. In the first, and this church was built in the 1700s or 1600s or something. The last thing I wanted to do was cut a hole in it.
Yeah.
But you took out space within the church, and it was a negative.
Yeah.
And he's gonna have the same problem.
Yeah.
The suggestion would be where he has intimate knowledge of the workings of that library on a daily basis. These plans were done pre-adjusted.
Yeah.
Right.
I would look to him for input as to what's really needed versus what's on that plan. The typical architect is gonna justify their need or whatever by their design. Sometimes it's over-designed, sometimes there's too much stuff in there. I would back up a little bit and find out what you actually need,
Yeah.
and then move forward from there. So if you need access to the library, that's a pretty inexpensive solution to it. And you can still make it attractive. You could put a cinder block wall up and put brick on the outside. I wouldn't put just a cinder block because you'd have a lynch mob out front. But you could put brick on the outside face of it. I wouldn't put a wood structure. It doesn't fit with the building. You could still make it attractive. What I did on theirs, because it's a historical building, is I put some windows in it. So as you went up, it just looked like an outside stairwell more than an elevator shaft. Plus it allowed some light to come in because that lift is open on that particular design. And then you can look at his library and his bathrooms to see what his actual needs are. And like Matt's saying, if you take it in smaller bites, you're going to accomplish it. If you try to take the whole pie first, you're going to be back here every year.
And one other question, what's the status of your furnace in that building?
We use it anymore?
We use it for hot water, but that's it. As far as I know, the furnace is fine. We just installed hyperheat
Yeah,
mini splits throughout the building, thanks to the Green Communities discretionary grant funding.
okay.
That has kind of eliminated the need for the boiler, except for just, hot water for the sink.
Can I ask a question with that? How much oil does that thing use to run that hot water to the sink? You're still
It's
putting
only
in oil on a regular
a lot.
basis?
I don't do that roll.
My last bill from Socios was only $20.
Oh, okay.
Before that, it was usually $600 to
And the reason why I
$800.
ask is if that boiler's running just to do hot water,
Yeah.
you could put in a hybrid electric hot water tank that uses $155 a year.
And there's no shower in the
No,
library
but
either.
you-
So, I mean, or washing machine.
If it's
so-
only for a hand sink, you could actually
Yeah.
put in one of those little mini
Yeah.
That's why
hot
I'm
water tanks,
asking.
electric ones, and you'd be
Yeah.
done. So
Yeah.
the maintenance.
And how
the,
much are those?
Not much.
Well, if it's for your regular house, it's like $1,000 with a
Yeah.
$750 rebate, so, and then you have to have it hooked up, obviously. But you don't need one that big, you're not running showers. So you
Right.
get one of those little tanks, they're only a
Right.
few $100.
It's something I talked to Bill Cundiff about,
Okay.
and he was kind of a proponent of waiting for a year to see what happens, because the mini splits, we got them, and then they immediately tripped. So I mean, if we had gotten rid of the furnace right as we were updating the heating system, then the library would have frozen for about 2 weeks, because it turns out they had to come back and do some more electrical work to get him, to get the circuit breaker not to flip. And we wanted to make sure that we could make it through a season without having to rely on it too much for backup heat, just to make sure that these will do their jobs. Also, I don't know what the lifespan is on these things, but the 10 years maybe, I'm assuming, 10 to 15, before you expect your compressors to start crapping out. But yeah, if they do work well, then I would love to get rid of the furnace.
Which isn't very big. I mean, it's a,
Because then we could also get rid of the radiators, and then I get more space.
But then you have to fix your wall and put up another picture.
You realize no one painted behind the radiators over the years.
You
We
know,
just build shelves in front of those.
I don't know if you've ever heard Greensburg, Kansas. Got hit by one of the largest tornadoes.
Did you see that?
Yeah, and
It was,
I actually went pheasant hunting there, so it destroyed downtown completely.
awful.
School, library, police department, everything was gone. And so because they had the word green in their name, they decided that they were gonna build it green when they were, of course, a lot of this came from FEMA,
Yeah.
but they actually built a paperless library. So the kids come in with their little readers, they plug in, they download the book they need, and they take off.
yeah, but you gotta think of the
Oh,
old
no.
people too.
Oh, no, absolutely. And so you think about like technology and where we are, and is there a way to make that symbiotic somehow, you know, that both things incorporated? Of course, I'm a tactile person. I like opening a book,
Yeah.
but that's not necessarily the future, right? So just might want to keep that in the
I think
memory.
Justin is sort of concentrating on the downloadables now.
We've transitioned, because I've started spending it, but when this year is all said and done, about half of my circulation budget will have gone to electronic resources rather than print resources.
Great.
The print resources are still incredibly important, because that's what
course.
people expect. But, you know, surprisingly, it's actually most of the old people who are abandoning the print resources.
Yeah. Well,
Because you
proud
lead a
of
few
it.
taxes, if you lead a few classes at the senior center on how to use, you know, ebooks and Kindle Fires and all this stuff, then their grandkids get them for them.
Correct.
Then they realize, I can read this and make it whatever size I
And they
want.
can make the font as big as they want.
Right.
Large print is pretty much dead for that reason at our library, because our seniors have all started using Overdrive and the apps instead. But yeah, that's good for me too, because, you know, that doesn't take any space. And space is
Yeah.
always, you know, sort of my biggest thing, is like, I need more space.
Yeah, I think their library now is about as big as this room.
Books take up a lot.
Their school is underground.
But
It
the other
just looks
thing,
like a bunk.
in regard to that program, that whole community has gone wind turbine.
Yes.
Or,
Yes.
or
So everybody
solar.
thinks these farmers are not very intelligent. They're much better at it than a big city is. They were able to find all the resources and all the technology. Solar panels on the police department and fire department.
Yeah.
I mean, everything, they took advantage of every natural resource they could.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to make light of disaster, but
No.
whenever something just completely gets wiped out, you can start with a clean slate.
Of course.
Of course, exactly.
No, you're absolutely.
And then we can have
right.
this beautiful one-story library,
When you
which
have
takes
funding
over the
that's there from
entire.
FEMA, it's a little.
But it's
helps
not
out.
just that, it cut down on the amount, the
Operation.
cost of operating it, and their electric bill, their fuel, that was on
Almost
PBS.
non-existence, yeah.
Yes.
And I was fortunate enough to be able to be an invited guest of one of the farmers that is on the committee that did that.
Yeah.
And they were spectacular people, really.
Right.
I mean, they're very ingenious.
Can
they
do like a
look
storm
for all
dance and
this.
conjure up a tornado.
Yeah, we
Library
could
when we're not
try,
open.
just have everybody evacuate for 24 hours and.
We have a library program on it.
All right. No, it was an excellent program. And the head one of the community was very instrumental
Yeah.
in doing that. It was good. Okay,
Any other questions for Justin?
thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Justin.
That's me. Very good.
I'm gonna go open tonight.
Well, next on the agenda will be myself for the fire department. Last year with the override passing, we were able to fund 10 of our radios, portable radios. So I had the balance of the 15 portable radios on, as a priority one. I think later on, myself, John, Mr. Administrator, Matt Wojcik, and Police Chief are gonna be sitting down and presenting a whole radio project that will include police, fire, and highway. So, but this was part of the balance of the radios that we were trying to get last year. We did write a grant for it with AFG. Haven't heard back from them yet, and we did try to call them. They were on furlough. So, so that was, so we haven't heard back on that. But we did apply for the balance of the 25 radios. There'd be 15 radios. That number's wrong. That was what the whole project for 25 radios was. So that's, the balance would be around $15,000 for the radios. So I apologize for that. Again, safety issue. Right now, no firefighter should be without a portable and not able to communicate with an incident commander outside. All the towns we go mutual aid to, they are on high band. We're on low band, or UHF. So we have to have another radio to communicate with them. Right now, they don't do that. Right now, it's just myself and John, and we just got 10 radios, so we'll be able to equip all our company officers and most of the full-timers with a radio. We're not on that frequency yet. We're working towards that. But we did apply for the radios and also a repeater for the grant. So we don't know if that's gonna go. Last year, we had talked about funding the balance of those radios with Wallem Lake money, and we just have to continue to beat them up to see how that's gonna happen. Also, as a priority one, on page 2 here, ambulance 2. Ambulance 2 is 8 years old, and it's had some issues with the engine. From the beginning, it was a manufacturing issue. When they switched over to DEF fluid, this was the first generation. It's been nothing but problems. It's out of service right now. I'm trying to discover or try to figure out what the problem is. We've had the rep for public safety fleet that's in charge of the whole eastern seaboard. He comes out and scans it for us, and we're trying to recreate a situation to try to figure out what's wrong with that. But in any event, it's been very unreliable. We definitely need 2 ambulances. We don't want to risk putting a critical patient in an ambulance and have it break down, which has happened to us, so more than once. My attitude is, this is probably the highest priority right now, is to replace that second ambulance. We've been waiting too long to do our ambulances. We just got rid of one, and we were supposed to get a $4,000 trade on it. Well, it broke down on the way to where they were gonna take it to, so we lost the $4,000. So obviously, when we say we need something, we need it. And that just proved the point there. So this has really been a thorn in our side, not being able to keep 2 ambulances available. And just as a thought, half of our budget is funded through the receipts that we receive on the ambulance, the calls that we bill. So if we aren't able to do those calls, because we have an ambulance that's broke down, say we're down to zero, which in the past year, we've been down to 0 ambulances a couple of times, for longer than I want to be. I don't want to be without an ambulance for more than 5 minutes, but we've gone probably, about a week? So, it's a public safety issue.
Yep.
Let's see, what else was I gonna say about that? So you can imagine if you don't take in that revenue, what's that do to your budget? If you
Well,
can't
how much
replace it?
is in the revolving fund?
I don't know what's in.
Are you
Gene-
still using it for personnel as opposed to
we've-
just equipment?
We don't use it for just personnel, we use it for capital needs as well. In other words, equipment. And we've migrated over to the tax side, some of the, we've been trying to migrate some salaries over to the tax side, so that we're able to build this side, what's in the reserve receipts for appropriation sides. Really theoretically, it would be great, I don't know if it'll ever happen, but if we
Well,
were
that
only
was the
using that-
original
Yeah,
intention
well,
of it.
that was the original intent of it, but call volume's double what it was in
We never
2001.
kept up. The funding never kept up to keep it on that track,
Correct.
unfortunately, that's what happened.
So
And
can you find out how much is in the revolving fund and let us know?
I can talk to Gene on that.
Well, technically, it's a restricted receipt account.
Okay, restricted,
It's a restricted receipt.
well, it says REV here, so.
Yeah.
Restricted,
The one thing I wanted to add on that is, we did receive from the state $100,000 toward the ambulance. Am I correct in stating that it's reimbursable, but?
We have a reimbursable $100,000 grant from the state that I feel like we have to use this year,
Correct.
because I don't trust the Commonwealth not to scoop unclaimed funds if they close the budget year with that sitting there. So we either need to be reimbursed for the ambulance we bought this fiscal year, or enter a contract before the fiscal year expires and be able to lock down that money with the state. There's 100 there, and then there's, as soon as the cannabis grow
yeah.
has a CO, we get 10,000.
So that's about half the
To
money.
phrase a
It's
big
roughly
portion.
half the money, so. And I don't know what is in the receipt side that Gene would have to
So I
fill
think the
us in.
last time we closed it and audited it, which is a year-old data, it was 315. We budget 320. Because it's restricted receipts and because the ambulance department technically spends more than that, Gene's just closing that restricted receipt every year to offset. It's basically part of the operating budget. It's part of the operating revenues of the town. The department generates enough expenses where it's using up all of what it brings in revenue.
So basically, it's supplementing the budget. It's not completely funding the ambulance side.
And it really
Which,
shouldn't be that way. So if you figure, what is the cost of an ambulance fully equipped? Well, we just bought one, so we can say with precision that a basic, reliable ambulance that meets the needs of the department, that has the power lift assist stretcher and the anchors and the other things that, you know, the radio, the cardiac defibrillator unit, all in is $240, $250 for an ambulance.
right.
And the useful life of an ambulance in a town with this run volume should be anywhere from 5 to 7 years, depending on how you rotate the two units.
Right.
So you should be able to more than save enough from your restricted receipts account to never have to come to town meeting.
And that was the whole
And
point.
that would be the point, and that's what needs to happen.
Good.
So that's where we're at with the ambulance.
So it looks like you have the dough for it.
That, yeah, I mean, this is a project where we know the grant money is already available.
Yeah.
All right,
So there would be no debt exclusion funds.
Not for this. I mean, I think you know, philosophically, Ellie, police cruisers and ambulances really should be expensed. You can't run the service without them. The ambulance is a little bit tougher sell because it's $250,000 versus 40,000, 45,000.
No, but the
But just
restricted
the
receipt
notion.
account
Should.
should be paying for the
Should be paying
ambulance.
for
And
it.
if there's, did you say 315,000 is in
That
there?
was the first year of the new rate structure, I believe, closed at 3.
And you have 100,000 from the state and 10,000 from marijuana.
Yeah.
So that sounds like.
There's a
doing
there
well.
there, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, next on the list, we have a pickup with a plow. I rough estimated it at around 50,000. We're currently in need of a utility pickup with a plow to be used for day-to-day operations with inspections and operations of the department. We currently have no pickup truck to move, with a bed to move tools, chainsaws, firefighting equipment from scenes and other emergencies, such as water incidents and other effects. And something we've done recently that we hadn't done before, that I started doing it with Highway last year. During these snowstorms, when they're keeping the roads open, we start getting a lot of downed trees. They're chasing trees and trying to keep roads open too. Well, as fire service, we cover the station because we want people, we don't want even to call people at home with getting 2 feet of snow on their car, and then you have a fire or an emergency, now you gotta clean off your car. We have them come into the station, keep the fire station walk shoveled, the doors open, things like that. But when we get a call for a downed tree, we'll send a truck out with firefighters with a chainsaw. They'll take care of the tree while these gentlemen are out trying to keep the snow off the road. So I think it's a better use of our resources. But the problem is, when we were doing it, we were either sending a big engine out, or we were sending a small brush truck that has no bed in it. It's got a pump and everything in the back with all R2s, and we fight brush fires with. So we also have ice ladders and things like that we put out at the ponds that we don't have anything to use. And then we have inspections, where you have a lieutenant who's going around doing inspections every day. He's either driving an ambulance or a brush truck. So it's just something we've never had, and then we're just realizing that if we had something with a plow, the highway wouldn't have to be plowing our driveway too. We have people there, we just keep our driveway and the fire station.
We're already paying people to be there.
That's it.
Like you said, now you'll utilize them for more.
Right.
And, I mean, in that aspect, if you look at what you're gonna save, you're gonna gain something.
Right.
I mean, to me, you're making your money back.
And what it did too is it took a lot of pressure off the highway too during these storms. When they're not having to chase trees every time they turn around. There's, a tree down over here, a tree down. We'll go take care of that if it's something we can deal with that's not in wires, and we'll go clear the road and let these guys concentrate on the plowing. So, Ellie, you had a question about what would be the increased cost to the department in cost. I would say fuel and then whatever maintenance there is.
So
That's-
not additional.
Which is what we have for a brush truck. That brush truck that we have,
Would you be getting rid of that?
no, because that has a pump. We actually fight fires with that.
Oh,
And it carries firefighting equipment for wildland and brush fires. But we're doing that double duty. And there hasn't been much maintenance with that truck at all. It's a 2007. We got that truck with Capital back in 2007. And I think it's only got 13,000 miles on it. That's how preserved. and-
Just for the brush fires and,
yeah. Okay.
So I would say whatever, if I was to take the fuel cost of that, add it up, and then maybe what it costs to change the oil once a year, that would be what your cost would be. The only thing different, I can't estimate, that I could probably get from John is what would be the maintenance for the plow and whatnot. I don't know what that would be because I
Be
don't.
minimal,
It's
just
very
plowing that
minimal,
one.
yeah.
It's minimal to plow that.
Well, my other big question was why the 3 pickup trucks that all sounded the same to me, one was 35,000, one was 49,000, and one was 50. And the 51 is wanted this year. And yours is wanted few years down the road, and so is yours, so, and
They're all
yours were
different.
cheaper.
They're all different sizes. So mine, if it was for maintenance, would just be a smaller pickup truck.
But
It
you
would-
could plow the.
You could have, yeah, it would be
basically-
like a, you know, it would be a smaller pickup, single cab, it wouldn't have to be anything. And as I don't know if you saw the last meeting, that if you got to, like I said.
No, I read all of your
Yeah.
responses, which were
Yeah,
excellent, you
yeah.
know.
And I
so-
just wanted to say, you know, like mine could be a good use, it didn't have to be, and it all depends, like mine was more of, depending on if I'm still in this spot, if I'm not in this spot, you know, if someone's full-time here. Now, if someone's not full-time here, then that cost is gonna go down, because basically I'm gonna get a truck like I have now, a smaller pickup, you know, it doesn't need a plow, because I have to be here anyway, I'm doing this job. So if someone else is here and it's a full-time position, they could help with the lots, the library lot, now that we added that on this year, or last year. And so they could plow that, so that's why, but my truck would be different size. John's is a 1-ton heavy duty that plows roads.
Well, I can understand that, but I don't think, you know, not to slap you in the face or anything like that, but I don't think you need a 1-ton.
No, it's not a 1-ton, is it? That wouldn't be a 1-ton.
No, but you got a
You
crew cab.
got a different
Yeah,
cab.
that's the difference, is the crew cab would be the 2 full doors
Yeah.
to move more people. The other thing that would be
Hold
used
4
for,
instead of 2.
that would,
Yeah,
the
you
other
can't
thing,
put them in the back of the truck?
No,
No.
that's against the law. No.
those were the days,
Only
those were
if
the
you tie
days.
him to the tail.
Stand on the back step.
Plus, I'm not, you can just answer for yourself, but when you started out talking about this, you said this is a rough estimate.
Correct, I said the rough estimate, but I got I did a quote, and it was state bid, was that 43 or 46, I can't remember.
I don't know.
Anyway, a quote came by, it was either 43,000 or 46,000, I don't remember which it was. But I do have that, I do have
That's
that,
with the plow.
yes. And again, the crew cab would be for, you could move people out to a brush fire with it and deploy them that way. But the other thing is, we pay, when the guys go to the fire academy, a training program, we'll give them a vehicle to take there. That way, we're not paying each one of them mileage, 50 cents a mile, 55 cents a mile. We'll just put them all in one truck and send them, in something that's reliable, because it's an hour away.
So what you're saying is it's more useful.
Correct.
Multi-use.
Chief,
Yeah.
Mike has a question.
Oh, Mike, I'm
No,
sorry.
just a comment. The trucks now are extremely expensive. I don't know if you've seen that foolish black truck that I drive, it's $73,000. So the average cost for a quad cab truck with a plow on it, $50,000 is about an average price. It's not over the top. You're not gonna get one much cheaper than that.
Yeah.
And I will say, the chief and the firefighters are a big help to me during these storms. You know,
Sure.
so I'm not getting a guy jumping out of a plow truck by himself with a chainsaw trying to move a tree branch or what have you. We dispatch them through either someone dispatching at fire or downstairs here, so.
It would have been useful on that little horse rescue that we had to do.
Absolutely.
Oh,
We use
yeah,
the cruisers.
there's a perfect example of
We
it.
use the cruisers to load the
No,
mats,
but that,
literally.
we're down there. in
No,
the
you're
woods
right,
trying to
yeah,
do
you're
all
right.
that stuff.
Yeah, we had a horse rescue, and the only way to get them out was we took all the rubber mats from all the horse trailers, because it was in a
After we
marsh
cut out
area.
the bridge.
And this guy comes up with a plan, let's lay them all out and he won't sink. I'm like, that's brilliant. And we did. But there's a perfect example that you're not even thinking of where, it would have really been a great help. All right, moving on, let's see, we have,
Heating system?
yeah, I have AC heating system. I did a quote last year. Our boiler is really sort of a pain in the neck.
How old is it?
From 2000.
Yeah, so
Boiler
it's
was installed when they built
gonna be,
this.
it's gonna be 20 years old. It's been very inefficient, but quite honestly, I feel the most important part of this is the AC. We got firefighters that are there 24/7, and they live there. Now, they're really around the clock. And it's very important to have air conditioning to keep them cool during the summer, so that they don't suffer a heat injury at a fire or something like that. But, I mean, I don't know of another town building that doesn't have AC where we have people working.
when they,
Stuff we're
when they
gonna- we're
stepped
thro-
out at our station, it was because everybody was on call, and those days have changed. They're,
Right.
those days, there's, unfortunately, our call department has done nothing but shrink. No one wants to volunteer, and no one wants to go for what we pay. It just keeps, you know, we're not gaining people, we're losing, and now that we're full-time, and that's the reason we had to go full-time, is the people aren't knocking on the door to be here. So we have people in our station now, and unfortunately, our station doesn't have AC, and like I said, the heat request is definitely something we have in service, but it's getting old and it's getting tired.
And it wasn't even very efficient when it was brand new, quite honestly. I was there when the station opened. And, anyway, so last year we did the quote. Renault came in at a quote with this for me for $45,000. I would say you probably add a couple $1,000s to that. It probably went up. I didn't ask them to do a quote this year because they would have said no.
So it was.
They don't want to spend all that time.
So this
Again,
was
you need to know
19?
when it's gonna happen
correct.
versus,
This gives us a rough estimate to something to go by.
Yeah.
And how about the Green Communities Act? It sounds like you want what the library got, you know, that type of thing.
Basically,
Yeah.
it would help out, you know, they could do something like that.
I don't know enough about that. Matt would have to be.
I think the payback, unfortunately, on the fire station would be too long a period of time.
Yeah, I think that was the same with the library too, wasn't it?
Yes and no. I mean, my feedback to those guys was they always looked at each individual project and scored it as if nothing else changed. But the library would change a lot. We went to a more efficient, modern microsplit over the older ones that were there with the dead compressors. And then you weatherized the building. So you did everything you could to conserve the heat and to use a more efficient appliance. I think at the fire department, weatherization is one thing, but by its very nature, the bay doors are opening and closing constantly. So I just think we're in a different setting. We should be upgrading oil burners every 20 years or so. The technology just keeps getting better, and the formulations change a little bit in that period of time. I don't know. I think that you don't have any AC at all, so you don't have any duct work in the building.
No ductwork whatsoever. Right now, we have like
You're open,
rollaways
right?
that you
The second floor.
take
is
a
open
window
to
out
the
and
bay.
put it,
It's open, so that, yeah, you'd have, all on one side, they have sealed it off. I think, actually, our own guys did it, they sealed off one side where the bunk room was. So they can see, they sealed one off to make it a bunk room. The other side's open.
So we have to be thoughtful about how you would move air in and out of there.
and I think in that quote, he considered all that. He thought he would do those standing units like the heating and air conditioning units like they did at the highway. I think that's what he quoted us. So,
And this would be for the living quarters, let's say?
yeah, meeting room,
Yeah, you
So how
wouldn't,
many square feet are we? You know?
what do you think the meeting room is? Let's see, I would say it's
I have the plans, but I don't have with me.
20 by 40, 20 by 30.
No,
So
with the kitchen.
plus, what's that, 600 square feet, 800 square feet, something like that. And then above it, upstairs. So,
So comparable, probably.
say 1,600
Yeah.
square feet, 2,000 square feet max.
Max.
So, so that's that. Next, I have the replacement of engine one. Again, I understand it's here. This is something that will probably end up being a debt exclusion, but it's there. It reached its 20-year birthday this year. It did a lot of work in 20 years. We definitely got our money out of it. This past year, I had to repack the pump. I was fortunate, there wasn't enough damage to the pump, but what happened, there's like corking and stuff that where you adjust the packing, and it was gone beyond what you could adjust anymore, so I had to have that, that pump, the impeller pulled and repacked. It's starting to leak a little bit again, but I think it's just because it needs to be adjusted again. I was happy that we didn't end up have to rebuild the whole pump, because that would have been a $15,000-$20,000 project, so. But, very important to have this second engine. We got our new one last year, but it's very important to have this engine. Being outside the water district, having a couple of engines, you have one goes down, you have another one, but most of the time, if we have a fire, we have all the apparatus there. And the more water we have on wheels, with 70% of our homes being out of the hydrant district, it's just, can't be understated when it comes to fire protection. The next one is engine 2. I got that as a priority 5. $500,000 for a tanker. The one we have is a 2001, so that's 18 years old. Yeah, 18 years old. It's a 2,500 gallon tank. It carries 2,500 gallons of water. Again, with the rural setting that we have with our hydrants outside of the water district, or I should say, with our homes being outside of the water district, it's very important to have that additional water to the scene of a fire. And both these trucks go mutual aid quite often. If there's anything that's gone up, our call volume's gone up. Our call volume was up on the fire side, just 100 calls this year alone. And that's, because we're busier in town, but we're also getting called a lot more quickly by other towns. This engine 1 that we just talked about, that actually covered, it actually covered during the tornado in Webster. So they were down there covering the station, so. And it's gone to many fires in Webster. And again, a tanker is something that is just, it's a specific need. Water puts fires out. You have to have water on wheels. And we go to a lot of mutual aid fires because the towns are in the same boat as us. They need water, and that's the best way to do it, is with the tankers, because it carries the larger quantities. So I have that down as 500,000. I would say that would probably hold, that number would hold.
Can we get anything back for the ones we have?
If it doesn't break down on the
Yeah,
way
Yeah.
to.
there might be some trade-in value.
Yeah, there's probably some trade-in value, yeah. Yeah, I gotta say, with the way, we were able to hold on to our engines longer because
Maintenance is there.
Exactly.
the maintenance is right there, but, there was a long time, we weren't called as often. We're called a lot more now. So I would say, I could foresee down the road that our engines would be getting a lot more work, and so we might be replacing them more, but our ambulances, we've been running into the ground, so. But with the engines, although when I first started here in '97 was when I started in Douglas, and we had a 1962 International. 61. And I'm like, wow, cutting edge. But, it's not, that's the thing is, we don't have to just drive a pretty red truck. That's not why we just want to be able to do the job effectively and protect the citizens. Whether it looks new or not, we take pride in it because that's the way we are, We're the fire king.
Right.
But those two pieces, they've been on for a while, and they're not going to go away until they're replaced. Number 6. Fire station roof. It's going to be 20 years old very soon. Haven't had really a whole lot of problem with it. We did have some ice dams back in like 2011 or 12 that we got a little bit of water, but not too much. And there's really no real damage there. We haven't, we've had a lot of rain this year and no issues, so. I just want it there because you gotta keep an eye on that. We talk about the roofs of our buildings and something we gotta think about.
There's one thing for roofs not to leak. Has anybody checked the condition of the roof shingles? Are they brittle, are any of them breaking?
I've been up there, and they're not bad. I think they're in actually decent shape.
And the only thing that ever came down off of that roof was
The
that.
cupola, yeah.
Okay,
that-
that was during the microburst?
Yeah, we had a microburst and it came down.
It's
and-
never paid attention. Is that architectural up there or a 310?
I have no
I
clue.
think it's architectural.
Architectural?
Yeah.
I mean, a minimum of a 30-year roof
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, I think.
But I think this
But-
was a 20-year,
I think they're 3-tab, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
and that's a 20-year?
25 probably.
Where did we come up with that 50K?
I just compared it to the highway, because they're about the same buildings, they just had their,
Well, I had an estimate done from Nor'easter Roofing
Oh,
back
okay.
when we did the highway garage roof. And I had them give me an estimate when they did it. Again, it's probably a couple years old, but that's,
I'm still interested in metal roofs, as I mentioned, so.
I get it.
The only
The
thing-
roof does, you don't have to shovel them.
It poses other problems, because the front of their roof is slanted towards the doors.
Oh, so the,
Falling
all the
ice
snow
on-
will
Gonna
come
empty
down.
out
the
all
public.
snow. Yeah.
It is, it's gonna
Until
do
you're in a
that.
horse barn with the door on that side of the roof, you don't realize it. All the snow comes flying off, and now.
Yeah, I have
it's in
solar
front,
panels, and
so
it's
even if
scary.
you put the cleats up on the roof, you always have that hanger that's over the edge of the roof.
the school had that on the.
You're much better off with an asphalt roof. You can get.
Yeah, but
pretty
they're a
extended roofs.
100-year guarantee. Isn't yours a really long time? That's 5 times longer than this 20-year roof.
It's a steel roof, correct?
Metal roof.
Metal
Metal
roof.
roof, right.
Yeah, we have them on our
With
barns.
paint,
What?
with paint.
Yeah,
So the paint has to last 100 years.
yeah.
No.
It
Not
just,
gonna
it does.
Yeah.
Go
Okay.
up to Vermont. They're,
Okay.
every place in
Okay.
Vermont is a
They-
metal roof. Colorado, every
They've
place.
changed the paint evidently because there are areas in Vermont that the paint is off.
I'm just saying that anything exposed to the UV rays
Yeah. You're-
isn't gonna last 100 years on a paint roof. The
The-
slate roof is a lifetime roof too, until they figured out that they used steel nails in them and they rusted off and the slate slid off.
Yeah.
But anyways, getting back just for everyday use for these people and safety, they have a metal roof, all the snow's gonna shed towards their driveway, and it's definitely the wrong spot for them.
And you have the public coming in now too, you have
But
that
they're
stuff
gonna have
slide down.
a pickup with a plow on it too.
Okay.
As long as they can get it out of the bay.
Yeah, they'll just plow
Yeah.
straight out.
We'll have to levitate the plow, so that way we plow it out of the way before it hits.
Well,
the-
still, I would like an estimate on how much a metal roof
It
is.
would, yeah, it would be a good idea to get an estimate on it and bring out these points because of the safety issue of it. I mean, I can see your comments, you know, your points. So, and there are different types now. There are actually metal shingles, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, does that same thing happen? I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah,
know.
because what
But
happens
it
is
would
if
be
the water
more
gets in between
expensive.
the two and there's no adhesion to it,
Yeah.
where the gravel of a
Expansion
shingle
and
roof
contraction.
is gonna actually give it some friction,
Right,
keep it from sliding off, so even those metal roofs that they came out with that look like shingles,
yeah.
that's still gonna shed the snow.
But it's still worth an estimate
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and comments on
Absolutely.
what they can
Yeah,
recommend.
absolutely.
They have shingles now that are solar panels, so
Yeah,
you know that that's a 20-year. at
We
least.
have asphalt shingles that are 50 years, they have.
Then you could pay for
limited
your air
lifetime
conditioning
shingles.
too.
There's all kinds, the whole secret to a roof is just the ventilation, to keep it from getting too
Right.
hot.
right.
If you keep the heat out of it, you'll get 40 or 50 years out
Yeah.
of a
Mhm.
30-year roof.
Mhm.
So that
Look
puts
at-
more
go up
emphasis
to
on
Worcester,
the
those
AKC and.
interlock shingles that you see on the 3-deckers, the
Mhm.
old hurricane shingles,
Mhm.
those things haven't been around for 40 or 50 years. And they're still perfectly fine up there because of the ventilation that's in their roof
Right.
system.
No,
Yep.
you have a good point, Mike.
Okay, so the final, what is the fire station engine bay floors? They are in need of, I think, stripping down and then having them redone. Either paint or, quite honestly, I'd like to see it, some type of a texture,
The
Yeah,
epoxy?
They need to have some
epoxy
kind of
or
a slip
something like that,
resistance.
so. This is the quote, same quote I had last year.
So do you think that's going up?
I would say you add maybe 3% to it, quite honestly, so. And that's really all I have. So, thank you for listening.
Thank you for the info.
So what's the life on, what's the age on your 3 engines you have? Would you get one in fiscal 18?
Let's
Or
see.
17?
Yeah, fiscal, we got it in March of last year, so it would be fiscal 18.
Yeah.
Be fiscal 18,
So you have one that's a year and a half old.
yeah.
You have one that's 20 years old. What's the third one?
18. And the latter is
That was the grant.
05, so that's 14 years old now. That's the one we got the grant.
Yeah.
It's 14 years. I can't
Can you
even get
believe
over it.
that? I had somebody on the board that suggested I write to give it back because of a
I remember that. Yeah.
hurricane, and that I offer it back as a chairman. And I said, no way.
No, that's a critical piece of equipment, quite
Yes.
honestly. And it's in good shape. It
Good.
gets inspected every year and passes with flying colors so far, so. The aerial on that is aluminum, and 75-foot aluminum.
We were thinking when we bid it out, that's
But
what-
it's also-
instead of being steel.
Yeah.
It's what?
Instead of being steel, they were thinking
Right.
the aluminum lasts a lot longer,
Yeah.
which makes it,
And lighter.
exactly,
You gotta be
yeah.
careful.
Which reduces the size of the truck, which reduces the cost.
Yeah.
So, I just like one-page things of all the list of your equipment and all the list of your equipment and the years next to it.
I actually had my 10-year. I always do my, I think a 5-year,
Mhm.
all listed out with when it was bought.
Yeah.
I did do that.
Well, he's looking for a list of our equipment and what
No.
year they are.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't care about the
I
future.
can get you
I
that.
do,
We
but-
file
All right.
every year for insurance. We-
Yeah,
we
that
do
type
the
of thing.
Asset
Yeah.
list.
Yeah.
Yep,
It'd be good
okay.
for the
Suzanne
committee
has
to
it.
have. Yep.
Okay, good, thanks.
All right, so, do we have any old business or any new business?
We have minutes that we haven't gotten.
Yeah, Matt, I haven't received any minutes from any of the meetings.
Mary has done them. I think there's a disconnect between Suzanne and you.
Okay.
or
Because I
Mary
checked my
and you.
capital box, there was nothing in there, but I'll talk to her after that.
Yeah.
I'll try to
I've
get
seen
them for the next
I've
meeting.
seen the emails, because she submits her timesheet with her
Oh, okay,
minutes she's done, and she's done FinCom, board,
Okay.
capital,
All right.
are all up to date as far as I know.
all right.
So I'll get them circulated. to
Okay.
you.
All right, so the minutes we'll be working on.
And who else we got to,
We have left so
The other thing is, you
so
haven't had a
far.
quorum in a while, so
yeah,
What's that?
we were minus
you've had a fair number
quorum.
of meetings that won't have minutes because you didn't have a
Oh, that's
full
true,
meeting.
that's true. We have two of
So
those.
the last
yeah.
time you had a quorum,
One of our first meetings.
one of the first 2 meetings, I think you had a quorum.
Right, but we
And
didn't,
then
yeah,
since then, today's the first day you've had a quorum.
right, okay. Good point. So,
But should we
You
have,
should have those 2,
yeah,
should have
but,
been ready. They are ready to be
okay,
reviewed.
so that we have them as a reference.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
so we have the senior center, the town clerk, and water sewer left. Is there anybody on schools?
Schools.
Oh, yeah, schools. Thank you for that.
Do we have
So
anything
we're gonna
from?
have I-beam day, we're all gonna do.
I-beam, yes, we need
Yeah.
to paint the I-beam in the gym.
My only rule is if I have to go up there, I'm painting it any color I want.
Well,
Did they tell you that's not covered for you to do that under their insurance, or?
Oh, I'm sure there's a reason why I can't do it. I'm just sure of that.
that reminds me, they have a, Jeff contacted me about a flagpole issues. We're gonna need to get the ladder truck up there for that. So.
Can we do all those in one more?
I was
meeting?
just thinking that very same thing, John. Yeah, so I'll, what's everyone's availability? for our next meeting. Next week, I am out 26, 27, and 28th, I think.
I have another trip to Chicago. I'll find out the dates here.
Like a dummy, I didn't put this, I'm at a conference
even
next week and I don't have the
calendars.
dates. How was Monday?
Monday's fine. Mondays are good.
Monday's not, unless it's in the afternoon.
The 25th,
Yeah,
you're talking,
I
Kat?
think so.
I'm okay, but it's.
2 o'clock on, I'm good.
That's okay with me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, let's
Monday,
pencil that in, Monday.
What is it?
The 25th,
Next
February
Monday.
25th, yeah. 2 o'clock, is that good?
And it's still soon enough to.
Make sure it's good with Matt, too.
How often do you guys meet?
Well, right now.
Right now,
we're
it's
trying
crunch
to-
time.
The reason I came to this meeting just to see what you guys are actually doing, like considering about applying for it, but I'm concerned about what my schedule is.
You mean I have to be on 2 committees with you?
No, I'll quit the other one.
No, you won't. Thanks, Mike.
You got it under control, Shelley. You're good.
I gotta see.
It's only from January till March.
The town meeting.
Oh,
type.
January to March.
Yeah,
okay.
that it's
And
the
then,
real busy.
But like you're meeting today and you're talking about next Monday, so
Yeah.
it's like once a week from now until
Oh,
then,
well,
or-
we're trying
Sometimes
to-
twice.
Yeah, we're just trying to get it over with.
When we can get it in to get,
We're gonna hear from
Because-
4 more departments.
yeah.
And then Matt's changed this year, because he wants to put a whole plan together, the whole
Yeah.
booklet, like, what was the other town?
Munson.
Munson had a capital plan, and it was like a 44-page document. Matt wants to do the similar thing, so before it was just going over our sheets, rating them, and then
Right.
presenting it, that's all we did, so
Well-
it's kind of changed this year.
And who had the loudest voice in convincing you?
Oh, I can yell.
Yeah,
No.
no, but it's usually safety
No, I
is,
know, I'm only.
is the big thing. Libraries aren't considered safe places or safe havens.
But I'm interested in what everybody needs, and I'm.
The mornings are tough for me, so if
Yeah.
you're meeting like all the time in the morning and
We
night,
don't always
No.
meet all the time in the morning.
No, we never
like
meet on
afternoons,
Mondays.
would be easier for me, but
Afternoons, you say?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Eh,
I'm just
and
trying to
that's-
get a feel for what you
Sure.
guys are doing, so I don't want to waste anybody's time and join up for something I'm not going to be here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm flexible,
Yeah.
except if I have a meeting or something or an appointment, but it's basically, Caesar's still working, and these guys are getting called,
Yeah.
and
Shirley and I are old.
I beg to differ.
Well, I see her jogging down the street all the time.
Prime.
I'm not jogging, I'm walking, but I am hitting problems.
Must have been downhill there.
Yeah, you know what, Matt?
Okay.
I
Yeah,
don't
But
so
there's
know.
other meeting, I think. He had
if
another
everybody's
meeting.
fine with it, I'll put an application in and
Hey,
like you.
Value your
I can't
input.
guarantee.
More
I'll be here
strength in
100%.
numbers.
Yeah,
More strength
you're
in
a
numbers.
member, you'd be a
Yeah.
member at large,
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
am. No, actually, I think we get
But
appointed.
What is the participation we need to make a, to?
Five,
Five
I
of-
think.
5 of 9.
That drone
So
thing
it's
that
just
George
a
was
number,
talking
so-
about, nobody mentioned it, but that would be good for future training for all the departments too, because it's
Yeah, well,
Field
that's what
replay.
actual information for
That's
this
what I
area.
said, it's more than just
Right.
their department,
Right.
it's joint
Yeah, but training the
benefits.
future officers, firefighters,
Yeah.
Yeah, anything. Exactly.
highway, whoever, just
Yeah.
to get them familiar with it.
Yeah,
All right, so we have,
so who are we doing on Monday, Ken, or is that what you're trying to?
schools, senior center, town clerk, and water sewer.
We need to know if they're available.
Well, they'll make
Whoever.
themselves available, I think. We'll tell them when they're coming before us.
I'm gonna fill this out and hand it in. I'll come to Tuesday's meeting anyway, just so I'm,
Monday.
Monday.
Monday's meeting anyway, just so
2:00.
I'm up to date as to what you guys are talking
And
about.
don't forget, we have a building and facilities on Wednesday.
I can't make it. Alright.
He's trying to get out of it.
I'll be there, relax. See, I told you she wasn't old. You see that? Alright, thanks.
Bye,
Thank
Mike.
you. All right, so does anybody have any old business? I'll go there again.
No.
Any new business?
Well, just that, you know, we are meeting definitely at 2:00 on Monday the 25th, right?
Correct.
And we're gonna do, see if we can fit in schools,
Schools,
senior center,
town
town
clerk,
clerk.
and water sewer.
Did we get any response back from Water Sewer? Still nothing?
I'll have Matt reach out, I'll reach out to him, I'll send him an email. All right. Anything else? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So
So,
moved.
second,
All right, so moved. Motion made by John, seconded by Shirley. Any discussion? All in
Aye.
favor?
aye.
Aye.